Both Delegate Adams and Senator HB took time to meet with individuals who have benefited from these plant medicines and became convinced, as I hope you will too if you are not already, that decriminalization of plants will go a long, long way in psychological healing and emotional growth.
Of tremendous research that is available that demonstrates that these particular plant-based medicines have the capacity to heal, to help and assist people in ways that other medicines often cannot do.
I just think it offers unique and extraordinary paths to help people out of things like fear at the end of life and refractory depression and PTSD. I think it is time for these types of treatments to be available.
Psilocybin has been designated as breakthrough therapy status for not one, but for two separate entities. So other preliminary positive scientific results for psilocybin in treating disorders include cancer-related anxiety and depression, tobacco addiction, alcoholism, and demoralization in long-term AIDS survivors.
The patients with depression taking standard medications that are treatment resistant. In other words, they do not respond to antidepressant medication. So it is clear that we do need new medications to treat depression and other psychiatric conditions.
Psychedelics carry manageable risks, as overall they have been proven to be rather safe drugs for human use. It is on the FDA's hand to make a final call on efficacy and safety, but the available body of science does not justify psychedelic placement on the most restrictive legal category for drugs.
And how do we allow the individual that's injured to take charge and to help run it? How do we make this patient-centric? And that's what we do at the VA, that's what we do at VCU, is what we do in my rehabilitation practice. So strongly in favor of the integration of these plant-based solutions into a wellness strategy and into treatment strategies.
What we do as a nonprofit is we connect teams of veterans to guided psychedelic group therapy designed to heal the scars of war. What I had to deal with in real time was insomnia, rage, hypervigilance, extreme anxiety, extreme depression, and suicidal thoughts and ideations. This was something I dealt with for years on my own. I went to the VA. I tried to find recovery through the, quote, appropriate means. Medicines like psilocybin represent a safe and effective path towards a recovery.
Of what's happening to the veteran community and the mental health crisis that all Americans are currently facing. It's a lot harder when you get a call every night of somebody in distress who may not be there. And these medicines are the sole reason that my son, one, believes that he will be healed of PTSD, and he will. But it's also the reason that he has a father instead of a folded flag.
So it's certainly needed. And the benefits of plant medicine can be used with those who need mental health and substance use treatment. And so that's why we believe plant medicine should be reviewed and considered to be decriminalized first for medical use and for mental health and substance use disorder.
And when we consider the impact that plant-related offenses has on individuals, primarily young men, veterans, and people of color, we can see the harsh prosecution for this nonviolent crime has affected many Virginians.
I would have risked physical imprisonment if it meant breaking the emotional chains of the depression that kept me locked up for so many years. But nobody should be forced to have to make that decision, that trade-off. That's why I respectfully ask that each of you consider decriminalizing these plants so that we can give other Virginians access to the same healing that I found without having to fear arrest or prosecution.
I have patients who have deepened their work in profound ways and found a good deal of relief and liberation from the ways they were stuck as a result of their experiences with plant medicines.
So all policies that we make from the perspective of how can these remain accessible to the most marginalized. We're strong supporters of community-based education and community-based ceremony. These continue to be the most accessible to those without sufficient resources to experience therapy, medical, or other models of healing.
Entheogens are not recreational substances. These are healing plants and most often done in an intentional manner for mental and psychological health and personal and spiritual growth. Decriminalization is not legalization, with complex regulatory frameworks and time or resources needed from the Virginia legislature. We are simply asking for compassion. Let's remove the penalties for the natural plant and fungi and allow people to have access to healing that can truly benefit our communities like they have been doing for thousands of years.
That this isn't just a left or a right policy. This isn't just a Black or a white policy. This isn't a poor versus rich policy. This is something that benefits everyone, because human suffering, trauma, depression, anxiety, and even addiction touches all of our lives in one way or another.
Senator Hashmi and myself are Democrats. She's the Senate, I'm in the House. And I want you to know that there were participants from both Republicans and Democrats listening. I personally received text messages from several Republicans stating how interesting this was and how helpful it was.
I too have received some messages from our fellow legislators who've been listening, and we certainly heard from subject matter experts this morning, and that's made a tremendous difference to understand the scope and potential of what we are looking at today.